Ayes 43, nays 18.
Bill's passed. Bill number 2230 is passed.
Welcome back to the News Hub. I'm Clemency Burton-Hill. Well, we saw there the New York State Senate passing legislation. Of course, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's who'd been exhorting, his state lawmakers to really lead the nation on the issue of gun control in the wake of the Newtown school shooting last month. Late last night, as we just saw there, the state Senate did agree on a series of new gun control laws that will tighten legislation in a state which already has one of the nation's most restrictive gun policies. Laura Namias is a WSJ contributor. She's joining us now from Albany. Thanks very much for being with us, Laura.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, how significant is this legislation? Talk us through the proposed changes.
Well, the legislation that he's proposing has a dozen components. It's comprehensive. It covers everything from strengthening the state's assault ban to banning large ammunition clips to a new mental health law to creating new penalties for crimes committed with illegal weapons. It's very comprehensive, and most significantly, New York is the first state in the nation to pass new laws in the wake of the Newtown shooting.
We're just taking a look at those proposed changes on the screen there. Let's talk particularly about the mental health element here. That ancillary issue is also something that Vice President Joe Biden has picked up on. We know that he delivered his recommendations for reducing gun violence to the president yesterday. That report hasn't been made public yet, but it seems significant that we know that there will be some element of issues like the mental health thing. How significant is it that they're aligned, Joe Biden and the New York State Senate at the moment?
Well, I think that this element was one of the ones that many gun rights proponents and supporters have been pushing for, to address both the role that weapons play in these types of tragedies and the role that mental health plays. This was something that was being pushed for by the Senate Republicans here in New York. And this provision in New York's law would allow mental health providers to alert authorities whenever a patient makes a threat against themselves or against others, and then that threat would then be cross-checked against a database of gun owners, allowing authorities to potentially revoke the license or take the firearm of someone who is deemed a threat by a psychiatrist or a licensed mental health provider. So that's a fairly significant change. It's a shift away from focusing exclusively on the weapon towards a more comprehensive view of what could be involved in gun violence.
Now, another politician who's been very prominent in the gun control debate is, of course, Michael Bloomberg. He was taking his campaign for stricter gun control laws also around the country yesterday, up to Baltimore, and he was saying that this is a question of political courage. Do you think that the politicians will have the courage to pass these tighter laws? Are we likely to see New York leading the field and other states following suit?
Well, that remains to be seen. It's likely that this law will pass in New York. That has something to do with the unique circumstances of the legislature here. The governor has a politically favorable conditions for allowing passage of a law like this. He has a Senate that is controlled both by Democrats and Republicans. It is easier to get this bill passed maybe than in a state that has more opposition, both from the gun lobby and from a Republican-dominated Senate. This is very significant here, but it really remains to be seen whether it can be done on the federal level or in other states.
Let's shift our focus back to Newtown, Connecticut, that town, of course, where the tragic shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School took place in December. I know that yesterday parents of the victims were together. They've announced a non-profit group called Sandy Hook Promise. What are their objectives with Sandy Hook Promise? What do they want to happen?
Well, it's not clear what specific policy, new policies they would endorse. But it's clear that they want to do something about the problem of gun violence. So we don't know if they are supportive of all of the measures that are being proposed in Governor Cuomo's bill. but they are pushing for some new legislation, just not certain whether or not they would be in favor of everything that's being proposed here in New York, and that's likely to become law.
Laura Namias, a WSJ contributor in Albany. We'll have to leave it there, but of course there'll be much more on that story and on the wider gun control debate on WSJ.com and in today's paper.